go.
Okay. Whoops. 1 second. There we go.
Acting.
Yes.
Yeah, acting's a curious one. You know, it came out of meditation, if you believe it or not. And part of the meditation that was prescribed to me by my teacher said, do mantras 40 days, 30 minutes, and then sit in silence after. And I did that for 40 days. And you're practicing like oh, ah, you know, whatever. And then you can put a soundtrack in the background, whatever. Everyone has their own method. The point is you're creating vibrations, sound, moving it through your body, feeling the effects. Physically, you feel like, I can see you breathe there, so you're feeling like it could be good. Yeah, I saw you breathe. We can do a meditation at the end. So then you go to the state where you feel like, okay, physically you're shaking, let's say, weight or tension off your body. You're feeling it go deeper. You're feeling you're breathing deeper. And what happens is that you also feel that your posture is changing. And after a while, it opened me up. Again, we're back to this is sadness, and this is happiness, and this is projection, extension, happiness, confidence. So when I go to those states, it built me up, it released things, but also allowed me to project. And through those moments, I felt like, yeah, I feel like I'm more than this. I'm more than a photographer. I'm more than a martial artist. I'm more than Canadian man. All these little labels we put. I was like, and I felt, I want to be in front of the camera. I want to be on a stage. I want to follow the curiosity that equally gives me, if not more, fear. And I was like, right. And I told a friend of mine who's an actress here in Madrid, and she's done some stuff for Netflix, and she said to me, hey, contact an agency. And I was like, okay. And she said, well, you know, they're looking for people with different looks. You look different in Spain, and, you know, it's commercial jobs, you know, it could pay well, and it could be fun. So I immediately after that called an agency, said, my life has changed. I want to expand my experience, and I'm a photographer, but I want to be in front of the camera. And long story short, within a couple of weeks, went in, they called me in, joined the agency immediately, because I thought, fantastic. So signed the contract and said, let's do it. So subsequently, within a few months, I had over a dozen castings, which supposedly is quite good. I don't know, because I guess I'm a little bit different from a lot of the people here. And because I have I think I have advantages because not only I look different, I have a different cultural background. So I'm much more expressive. And the great thing about acting is what's happened is that I always used to think acting was like to be someone else. But because you're doing it commercially, meaning that you're doing it for a brand, they want you. If they choose you, they choose you because you are the way you are. So what's been interesting about acting is that it's been a way to look at the other side of the camera, which is obvious. Now, as a photographer, if I'm directing people or with video or stills, I switch roles. So I understand the lighting, I understand the positioning, I understand the camera, so I shouldn't be moving too far out of the camera. So I understand a lot of things very naturally, so it gives me a big advantage. And then I know that the people I work with in the past, if they're very friendly and polite, but they keep their talk to a minimal, this is good. So you're very polite, you listen, you do your best. If you don't know, you ask a question. So I know how to be the best performer. And then I have meditation, and then I have martial arts. Then I have health practices that put me in the best state. I know how to maintain, to look healthy, to maintain my youth, my energy. I have all the formula to be the best performer I can be. So what's happened now is that it makes me realize that all the things I do is about performing well. All the fascination with fasting, cold showers, meditation, different cleansing processes made me realize that this is the bridge between being a performer and capturing or being in front of the camera. So that's the fusion of all that I do. And even now to this day when I'm painting, I'm looking how to capture and create an image, but it's an integration of how I feel that expresses or performs an image of what I believe that particular art, say in the Silat point of view, in the martial arts, that's what I'm trying to do. So, long answer.
Yes. Well, we're gonna head towards the end almost. 2 more questions to go. Just a quick one.
Chocolate.
Is the fun? That's a fun bullet.
Well, funny enough, I have a great relationship with chocolate, but I've taken a break from chocolate. Chocolate and I have taken a break in our relationship the last 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks. I don't know why, and I'll tell you, this is part of one of the practices I do. When I feel like chocolate or sugar or coffee is a good example, when I start to, the taste changes and I feel less, it's less favorable, I enjoy it less, and this happens with coffee, I think it's quite common. One day just be like, I don't like the taste, and I cut it. I cut it for 1 month or more, and I've done it for coffee, and I've done it with chocolate or sugar, bread, and I think it's a combination of different things. One, it's a check-in to kind of say, hey, listen, I'm the boss. I choose what I eat. And this is part of the fasting. Fasting gives you incredible benefits on many, many levels. That's another conversation about health. So with chocolate was the same. I felt like I was using chocolate as a distraction or to give me pleasure. And therefore I had to eliminate it because, and this is an interesting one, because I had a thought this morning, which I want to share with you as well. I woke up this morning thinking, and I listened to a lot of positive YouTube videos, and I really feel that there's so many mentors, and we share a lot of them. Chase Jarvis was a catalyst in a lot of our expansion creatively, and also looking at the people that he counts as friends, and they've been a big influence. 30 Days of Genius, for example. So a lot of this stuff I look at in the morning, it kind of picks me up. It makes me realize that, yeah, this is a good thing. This self-improvement. I'd say self-improvement and also continual learning are two things that I really believe in more and more. So my brain jumps around a lot. So
I need some chocolate. I don't want to say.
Yeah, so subsequently, trigger word, yeah, chocolate. So subsequently, what happened this morning, I thought to myself, okay, the education, entertainment, you can call it entertainment or you can call it distraction. Let's say distraction and education, or edutainment would be the middle. And that could be like watching a documentary. I thought, yeah, when I have my leisure time, I should be ideally watching a documentary. Why? Because it's like entertaining, but educational. So I thought, if I'm going to better use my time, I should try to do that higher choice and choose that. In the morning, I know it should be time to create and to be learning. So I started thinking a lot about this idea, and I thought, what would happen if I reduced my dopamine hits that I get from watching a series, eating chocolate, drinking too much alcohol? I don't drink very much, but if I have a glass of wine, that gives a certain amount of pleasure, which means that I don't need to look at that pleasure through my creativity. So what happens if you reduce that? Your sensitivity level goes down, your dopamine level goes down. So it means that when you do something like creating something, draw a picture, write something, you feel that, oh, that dopamine, you feel like, oh, that's so satisfying. So I think that there's an element I'm exploring now where if I could bring down my sensitivity to other stimulus, then the things I do creatively become more stimulating, and therefore I choose those to get my fix. So this is the thing that hit me today. I thought, interesting. I thought less technology, less distractions, which I believe in anyways. Turning off the phone, go in nature. Don't take your phone with you. Be in nature, which means be offline, be analog, be organic, pure. So for me, that's the chocolate is an interesting one because it did make me think about this thought I had this morning. So I thought I'd share that with you.
Well, I'm gonna take that on board. The same that making my dishwashing, more creative. I might experiment because normally when I decide to stop eating chocolate, I move on to bread and butter as a substitute. But let's see if I'm gonna start thinking about this. I'm not making promises, but substituting stop chocolate to see how my creativity increases basically because my clown character is called Choco Friki, and that name comes for a reason. I'm not going to explain it anymore. But we're going to move on to the last question, just to finish off.
Future.
I would challenge you on that word, and I would say present. And I'll tell you why. I'm going to give you some words of wisdom. The future.
You adopted the pose of the sensei now, Mr. Miyagi. I'm all ears.
The future doesn't exist. And I know that sounds kind of like hokey pokey spiritual, but it's true. And I've listened to a lot of people talk about a lot of things related to spirituality. Let's use the word mindfulness. Mindful. What is it to be mindful? Is to be aware. What is it to be aware? It's to be in the moment and conscious about as much as you can, and be able to let go of whatever's happened previously and whatever you think about in the future. So it's an element of surrender, allowing. We do it. We breathe, and we suddenly. What are we releasing when we breathe? We're releasing a burden. What's the burden? What we haven't done that we put on our list from yesterday. What we anticipate or try to prepare for the future. So the future is an interesting one, because I think that actually the more we enter the moment, and the more we enter our practice and our, let's say, our rituals or our habits, the more we're able to be prepared for this idea of the future. You know? So I would say that the more one can use the word present and be present in what they do, and this is not always be like concentrating, I'm fixed on this thing. No, it's the opposite. It's like you're doing that, but you're creating a moment. It's like a bubble. And see that we have the circle. You know, you have the circle and people are training the circle. But the circle's empty. You fill it with the energy. You create that moment. I do it with the environment in a photo shoot. I do that with my own space when I enter in front of the camera. I put myself into a state to project an energy so they see not only the aesthetics of me, but they feel my energy. And that's performance as well. So we're there and we're projecting, but it's done not because of what they need, it's because you're projecting inside and to out. So I think that being present allows you that power. And I realized that I remember writing about a year ago, I remember specifically when I went through a really challenging time, I realized the truth about something I had heard, and I had framed it in a slightly different way. And the truth was this, that's something to think about. The best gift you can give to someone is to be 100% present. Think about that. Try it.
Yes.
It could be 5 minutes. 5 minutes with someone and you're 100%. If you practice this in reality, consciously, you will see it, because you'll see the people who aren't present. You'll realize the people in your life that make you feel incredible because they are present with you. This is what I try to do more and more in my life, and with myself, or with a cat, or with a tree, or with an environment. I try to be present there. So that's what I challenge you on with the future is we don't need to think about the future if we are constantly in the moment and progressing through self-improvement, and we're learning and being as consciously aware of what we're learning and absorbing, and also let it go, like we said, forgetting. If you're able to do that, I think that whatever will come in the next stage, if you want to call that future, you will be a better person for that and better able to adapt and give more of the right thing that you need to give, and you'll have less expectations and anxiety, because you're again in that moment. The next moment you're in deeper, and you're a better version.
Yes, I'm thinking of, I don't know, surfing comes to mind. Surfing or swimming is like develop the skill of swimming. If you're in a storm, your best chance of survival is trust that you can swim and hope for the best. But worrying about it is not going to help you. But having the skill, yes, you have the skill, trust that you have it. If it happens, do the best you can given the situation, but you cannot train for that situation, because maybe the storm in the sea doesn't happen. It's a hurricane and you need another skill. But the essence of the skill is trust that you will do the best. And in order to trust, you need to be relaxed and be present, almost.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I'm opening up to close. I'm starting to explore the concept of flow and the creativity. But creativity or any creative task, discipline, whatever project, as a flow development. So if you want to develop the skill of flowing, do anything creative. So that, it feels sketchnoting, for example, it could be one thing. Pottery, martial arts, anything, dancing, whatever, meditation. Whatever you're doing, it doesn't matter. It has to be you. You have to like it, but it's preparing you for whatever is to come. And we don't know. They talk in business and the companies about the VUCA, volatile, uncertain, whatever, all sort of the future, which is already here. Things like this current crisis. These things, if it's not one, it's going to be another one. It's going to come soon or later. So the only way to prepare for that is not to worry about it. Just develop yourself, because you're going to be the cork that floats on the water.
100%.
Yeah, it makes me think about this idea, this analogy I heard recently, is that you imagine when you're in a pool and you have you can visualize this, a child's trying to swim and you're trying to teach them to swim, a baby. So you don't want to, you want them to have a certain amount of distance, so they have to swim towards you. And what you do is actually you pull away, and this creates space. But also it creates a vacuum that pulls a child into you. So if you think about that analogy for creativity, you create space. We got a circle again, which could be time, could be a physical space. It's, it could be it's a mental space, a mindset, an attitude. To allow, to invite in what you want, or not even what you want. You don't know what you want. You just give the space in a certain time with some set of tools, let's say, and you see what happens. And this goes back to the original idea of the muse. What is the muse? The muse is not, or the genius. You're not the genius. This changed. This is something quite recognized historically now, is that to say that this person's a genius. No, you have a genius. So if you create a space, and I do this with photography, lighting, structure, idea, I sketch an idea, I set everything up, and then the person walks in, I have to let go. I created a space with my criteria, my tools, and then the magic, let's say, comes in because you allow into that space to enter inspiration, a moment, improvisation, the muse comes in, the genius comes in, and then that's the magic. So that creating that space is like that. You create space, it creates a vacuum that pulls in whatever comes into that. So there's a lot of, it sounds a bit mystical, but I think it's actually really practical. I think it's actually something that does happen. And if you allow yourself that, to trust your skill, to do your preparation, your organization before, and then let go, allow, then what will come will surprise you.
Yes. Yeah, it's like life is actually a big improv act.
Yeah.
So the good thing about doing improv, I haven't done much, but I appreciate it as a skill, is that, again, you train, you practice, you prepare, but then whatever comes, it's like, well, all the martial arts training, people always thought I would be prepared for any self-defense situations. And what I learned from my particular approach is, first, I did like more than 20 years of karate, but I didn't train specifically for self-defense. So regarding self-defense techniques, I didn't have the repertoire. And regarding the attitude for self-defense, I didn't have it either, because I haven't grown up in a place where I need to develop that skill. But I came to realize it was an attitude. Any person who grows up in a place where they have to deal with environment in a hard way, with zero karate, were better prepared for self-defense because they had the mindset and they trust their instinct. And it's natural. You throw an elbow, head, step, kick, whatever. It doesn't need to be fancy. And
Yeah.
with all my repertoire and my history of competition and everything, I was useless because somebody comes at me, I freeze. So it's like technical background and setting up the environment is fine, but the key word here is the mindset. And go with what you get and trust whatever, because what I did have from all these years of training was reflexes. And I could cover, and if I have to punch, I'm not going to break my hand. If my instinct leads me to punch, I'm going to be in a better position than anybody who hasn't trained to not harm myself much during the process of
Yeah.
doing whatever, because some techniques will come up. But if my mindset isn't there, I have nothing. Now, the training kicks in on its own. The practice years of intuitive, it's like driving. Even if you just spend years not driving, you get into, or on a bike, you get onto the one. Maybe you're a little wobbly at the beginning, but you just keep going in a moment. So it's minutes to adapt. So there is a purpose of the training, but the reality is just be present and develop yourself.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's yeah. There's a level of trusting that what you have acquired is enough. You know, and
Yeah.
in Silat we have this idea of, you know, there's only three movements: open, closing, and circling in Silat. And if you think about it,
Okay.
you know, it's a bit like life. You know, we close down, but the point is we have to try to open. So by opening up, it's also, again, it's this idea that the analogy of opening is to open a space to invite in.
Almost like the storytelling, beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah, also, but the idea is to open, to create space for whatever to enter into that. And the more you fixate purely on result, you narrow your vision. And it's not saying you don't have an objective, but you have those clearly defined. But within the creative process, it's important to let it go organically. And I do the same thing with Silat. So your idea of this being open and trusting and having the right attitude is the same thing. It's exactly the same thing that we're talking about. That your attitude is what's going to allow you to see opportunities without being too fixated on a specific result. Because if you have a specific result in mind, then you potentially won't allow yourself to be open to what's going to happen, what presents itself. And this is also ego, because ego says, no, I should have done this. I should have been able to defend myself in this way. And that's often a common thing. In my limited experience with self-defense in a physical way, very often there's a long time afterwards where you're going over it again and again and wondering, oh, I should have done differently. Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? Same thing happens with a photo shoot. Same things happen with a project. Once you create it, you think, why didn't I think of this? But the point is to learn from it, you know. Winning, losing. No, winning, learning. You know, when you
Yes.
don't win,
Yes.
when you don't achieve exactly what you think you set out to do, you have a great opportunity to really assess how to improve it. What did work, and what would you change next time? It's not like wrong. It's just that, what do you feel, or what do you understand, or the criteria or the possibilities of how you could improve the result next time. And if we take this mindset, this attitude, again, it's the same. And I think the training is the same. For me, all those things are the same. Create a space, have an objective. We have 1 hour class. I want to follow this idea of scarf, using it as a whip. That's what I do for Silat. Class, 1 hour. These students, this skill level, with this objective, with this principle. Done. Where it goes, we don't know. But I want to see where it goes. I'm the guide to see where it goes. With whatever we do creatively, I think to have some criteria, and then the movement within is where we where we allow the genius to come in, as I said before.
Well, before we finish, I'm gonna have the conclusions I gathered from this, because let's say, have got some insights right from the last points we've been speaking. But I would like to also finish with a final thought about creativity. My reflection is, I have named my brand Creative Sensei, because it's all about mastering creativity. Not because I am a master of creativity, but because I think everybody can master creativity. But I was thinking more of creativity as the skill of the future, that we all need to make the world a better world, even to survive as a species. But the insight I got today is not just as a work skill that, a selling point or something that we need to develop, but it's also the mindset or the philosophy or the practice that will allow you to dive in and survive in the future. And I'm not defining anything specific. Anything that life or the world throws at you, you will be better equipped if you master yourself through the creative practice.
Yeah.
And that's
I
my
agree
final thought.
completely.
So I really thank you for that insight. And if you want to finish off with some, no wonder why the first interview in English is with a martial artist who's a sensei himself and practitioner of many creative disciplines. But I would like to just sum up, give us the actionable step or a tweetable or some finishing thought.
No pressure.
No pressure. You get 3 attempts. Come on.
I would say whatever your creative practice, or let's say your creative curiosity is, create that circle, create that time frame, create that space that you define. Give yourself 1 or 2 basic tools. Even a challenge would be to give yourself 1 tool. Imagine, give yourself 20 minutes to sit down with a blank piece of paper. You've got a blue colored pencil and you've got watercolors, but you can only use yellow, I don't know, for example. And you want to express the theme of this. So you limit, you restrict, you set a very clear structure, and you see from there what comes out. Lock things down and then allow that flow within that. And then at the end, throw it out.
Let's set up a challenge for the audience if there is any. Like, I'll summarize it in writing later. That's a challenge. Put constraints, limit the time and the space and the tools, and off you go and see and explore. Well, thank you, Steve. It's been a great time to share this morning with you. The conversation can go on and on and on and on. We know each other. We could. But it's been great. I think it flowed.
Yeah.
How do you say? It flowed.
Or it flew by, we say.
Flowed nicely, I think. And we touched on very interesting points, and we might come back for more at some point. Thank you so much. Have a good time.
Thank you, Vago. See you
Bye.
soon. Bye-bye.